Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating theological and philosophical text. It presents this grand overarching concept known as the 33 windows of divine unity. We're going to take a visual journey through a source that meticulously breaks down the universe, arguing that literally everything we see, from the absolute grandest galaxies to the intricate tree of creation, right down to a single tiny seed, points to a single unified creator. To kick things off, the text poses a massive, core question. Is the universe just a product of blind chance, or is it a masterfully designed palace? It hooks us right away, doesn't it? It contrasts this popular idea of a chaotic, meaningless, and totally random universe with a highly structured, very different perspective: the beautiful, intentional solution of a divine order. Diving into the original source material, the author uses this brilliant, foundational metaphor throughout. They argue that the universe isn't just some random explosion of matter, but rather a magnificent, deliberately designed palace. And, just like any physical palace, it absolutely requires a master architect, someone who possesses total control over every single tiny detail. So how exactly do you build a cosmic palace? Well, the text actually walks us through an architectural blueprint of creation. First, the foundations are set with absolute wisdom. Second, this grand structure is divided into intricate rooms. Think of these as the different realms of existence. Third, it's decorated with incredible designs, and finally, it's illuminated with brilliant lamps, like our sun and the stars. The source argues this entire construction happened systematically, in stages guided by eternal knowledge.
And this brings us to a really sharp rhetorical challenge from the author. Could deaf, blind, and ignorant forces of nature actually construct and maintain such a flawless machine? The author asks us to step back and impartially consider if it makes more logical sense to attribute this astonishing level of complexity to random chance or to infinite wisdom and divine design.
What's super interesting here is how the text shifts our focus outward to the macrocosmos, effectively giving us a tour of the massive rooms and lamps of this universe. The source points to vast celestial movements, perfectly synchronized seasons, the complex formations of clouds and rain, mountains completely packed with useful minerals, and a perfectly balanced ecosystem. According to the text, these aren't just natural phenomena. They are deliberate, undeniable signs of a unified creator.
Zooming out to the immense scale of the cosmos, from the dynamic rotation of entire galaxies all the way down to our Earth, the text makes a beautiful, sweeping claim. It states, every leaf, flower, and drop of water declares divine unity, acting as words of a magnificent design. The universe, the author argues, is like a beautifully written, interconnected book. Literally, even the absolute smallest droplets of rain are assigned profound, intentional duties in the grand scheme of creation. So you might be wondering, how do all these totally disparate parts actually function so well together? Well, the text highlights a profound concept of universal interconnectedness. Elements that appear completely unconscious and disconnected, like soil, air, and water, actually work together in perfect, seamless harmony to sustain life.
The crucial point is captured perfectly by the concept of ta'awun, or mutual assistance. This is described in the text as a literal cosmic law. Think about it. The sun cooks our food, the moon acts as a precise calendar, and rain hurries to the aid of thirsty plants. The author argues that because these lifeless, unconscious elements cooperate so flawlessly to support you and me, it proves the existence of a single, overarching director orchestrating the whole symphony.
400,000. That's a staggering number, right? In the text, this represents the different species of plants and animals on Earth. The author points out that this vast array of life is equipped, clothed, and fed like a perfectly disciplined army, without a single error or mix-up in their provisions. I mean, managing an army of this size with zero logistical failures, the text presents that as absolute proof of an infinite organizing power. Think about human faces for a second. Out of literally infinite biological possibilities, every single human is given a totally unique identifying mark, a face distinct from billions of others, despite all of us being made from the exact same basic materials. The text argues that this incredibly precise differentiation acts as a brilliant, undeniable stamp of unity and intentional design. All right, it's time to put away the telescope and grab the microscope. We're pivoting from the vast macrocosmos inward, embarking on a deep journey to the microcosmos, the human soul.
The text argues that our own internal world contains windows of truth that are just as vast as the galaxies we were just exploring.
Listen to this incredible quote from the text. Just as darkness in the night reveals the light, human weakness and poverty reveal the infinite power and wealth of the Creator. This is the core argument about human nature. It suggests that our extreme frailty, our boundless limitations, and our infinite needs, they don't make us insignificant. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they act as a perfect mirror, reflecting our ultimate need for an infinitely powerful sustainer.
The author takes this a step further, arguing that every single flower and seed is, quite literally, a miracle of power. The text highlights the instantaneous creation of highly complex things from incredibly simple, compact seeds. The argument here is that this rapid, perfect unfolding of life proves there absolutely must be an overarching intelligent design and a pre-written program, rather than just slow, fumbling, blind natural forces.
Now, this actually leads to the text's surprising and honestly quite comforting perspective on mortality. According to the source, death is not an absolute end. It's not an annihilation or some plunge into nothingness. Rather, it's described very systematically as a purposeful change of location, a discharge from worldly duties, and a planned transfer to another realm within this grand palace of the universe.
Okay, so this all builds to a grand finale. We've looked through the windows of nature, and we've peered through the windows of the human soul. But who actually holds the blueprints to this entire cosmic palace? Who can decipher the grand meaning behind all these signs? The text argues we need ultimate windows of truth to fully comprehend the design.
This is where the source introduces the supreme guides of this journey. Because think about it, the macro and microcosmos are absolutely full of signs, but without a teacher, a complex book remains totally unread. The text asserts that divine revelation provides the absolute clarity needed to decipher the true meaning of all these interconnected designs in the universe.
We've reached the theological climax of the text, where Prophet Muhammad is defined as the son of the heavens of revelation. The author presents him not just as a historical or religious figure, but as the ultimate illuminating window of truth. According to the text, his teachings act as the brilliant sun that completely illuminates the overarching, hidden purpose of the entire universe.
Furthermore, the text positions the Quran as the ultimate ocean of truth. The author humbly states that the 33 windows we've just explored in this explainer are merely tiny, isolated drops drawn from the vast, infinite ocean of wisdom found within the Quran itself. It is presented as the final comprehensive manual for understanding the palace of creation.
So this leaves us with a huge question. If the universe is this grand palace full of wide-open windows, what happens if we refuse to look through them? This really sets up our final perspective on the journey we just took.
The 33 windows take us on this mind-bending journey from the stars all the way down to our own souls. But the text leaves us with a stern, fascinating warning. To ignore these brilliantly clear windows of design and unity is essentially to close one's eyes in broad daylight and stubbornly pretend that it's night. So, are you keeping your windows open? Our goal with this explainer is to be helpful to you. If you feel we've achieved that, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.